Good evening, and welcome to the CHS Student Success Center Virtual Financial Aid Night. I'm your host, Mr. Davenport, one of the counselors here at CHS. Also tonight, another one of our counselors, Ms. Snyder, will be our online moderator. We have worked very, very hard to be able to still provide a financial aid night during these new and challenging times. Tonight, we will have Miss Lisa Smith, aka the Free Money Lady, that led our financial aid night last year. Tonight, our goal is to make tonight interactive and informational as possible. We have a comment section opened up for you so you can leave your questions to better assist our students and the parents tonight. We have also linked the ADHE How to Pay for College booklet in the comment section and also on the bio of this link for this page. If you would like a hard copy, please send your student to the Student Success Center during school hours and we would give them one. It is my pleasure to introduce Miss Lisa Smith. Miss Lisa Smith has been active in educational finance since 1987. She presently serves as the new financial aid director at Henderson State University. And before, she was the director of financial aid for the Arkansas Division of Higher Education. She has conducted numerous financial aid workshops throughout Arkansas and has assisted students in finding scholarships to further their education. Ms. Smith is known as the Free Money Lady. Ms. Smith previously coordinated several state scholarship and firmly served as the outreach coordinator for 24 years for the Arkansas Student Loan Authority, nonprofit state agency that provides educational funding. Ms. Smith's main goal is to let people know everyone and anyone can further their education. The students of today are the leaders of tomorrow. So she travels the state of Arkansas to enhance the access of higher education. Ms. Smith's motto is, "You miss 100% of the shots you never take." With that being said, I would like to welcome you to our show, and we are so thankful for you spending this evening with us tonight, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
All right, so tonight we're going to get started, and our format will be questions that we have seen from the Student Success Center that have come through the counseling office. And so we're going to go through this process, and we're going to ask you a series of questions that are catered to the needs of our students and their parents to better assist them to understand the process. Once again, like we said, we have a link to this book that you can download digitally, or you can come into our counseling office and get this, and it has so much good information. And so if you have that pulled up, we're going to kind of use this as kind of our guideline, and we'll present some pages where you can follow along. But that's where Ms. Smith's presentation is going to kind of follow along. But a great resource. It's my favorite thing. We've got it like a week ago, and I've given out like 100 of them. So, all right, so we're going to get started.
All right.
All right, so our first question is, as a student gets ready to apply for financial aid, what do they need to know?
Well, in order to get prepared for financial aid, students actually have to complete that free application for federal student aid. That's very important. What we call the FAFSA is very important that they know to complete that, and they must complete that application with their parents. So that's very important to have the student and the parents. This is when they have to bond together and actually complete the application together.
And we see a mistake that happens a lot in this. And what is that mistake usually?
It's several mistakes that I have seen happen on completing this FAFSA. One is there are two different sections to this application. You have the student section, you have the parent section. So you have to make sure that you're putting the parent information in the parent section and the student information in the student section. Another thing that I see quite often is students will put their nickname and not their birth name. So whatever's on your birth certificate is the name that needs to go on this application.
A big thing that we see a lot is the parents just doing it for their students and just completing everything and creating the pins and doing everything on their own and not really involving the student. As a college student, many years ago, I remember I had to fill it out for the rest of my college career.
Sure.
So is that very important that they do, like you said, do it together?
It's best that they do it together. One reason is that way the student would know that the application is completed. I've seen where sometimes the parents, the mom will get in and do the application and the student is not aware, and then they go try to complete the application also. Also, when the parents are completing the application, when it says name, they're putting their name and not the student name. So it's important that they sit down and complete the application together.
All right. Sometimes we say, should I fill out the FAFSA if I know I won't qualify for anything? Or another one is, do I have to complete it every year? And that's things that we hear all the time. So what is your best advice on that one?
I do encourage the students to fill out the FAFSA, even if they think they're not going to qualify for anything. It's always good to go ahead and complete it and let the federal government tell you no. Another reason you need to complete it is that's the only way you can get student loans. Even though you may say you're going to pay for your education out of pocket, something may happen and you may need to fall back on some assistance to help pay for that. So you need to have that FAFSA completed. Now, if you complete the FAFSA and you don't want the loans, you can always deny them. But then there are ways there for you to come back and use them, and your application has already been submitted. So I do encourage you to go ahead and complete it, even if you think you don't qualify.
All right, and you see a lot of this information on page 1 of the booklet from the state. All right, second question that we get a lot, and this is going to be a very complex one.
Oh.
What does the financial aid process look like?
Wow.
And then that's the applying process, all the different things. So what does it look like?
A lot.
It can be overwhelming, right?
It can look overwhelming, but it's really not. You're actually filling out the application talking about yourself. So who knows you better than you? So it's not really that complicated when you see all the questions. They're pretty easy questions just to complete. You can actually sit down and complete the application within 15-20 minutes.
Okay. We see a lot of that issues, you know, and they just get overwhelmed.
Sure.
And taxes and all the other things. And so there's a lot of things in there. So some sub-questions is that, like, my parents are separated. Which parent fills out the FAFSA if I spend equal time with both of them?
That's a good question, Ryan. If your parents are separated, if your parents are divorced, then you still have to fill out the FAFSA with that parent that you spend majority of your time. Now, I heard you say they spend equal time with the parent. It's always good to it's a little bit more time that you spend with one more than the other, but you have to look at which parent is spending at least 50% helping your well-being of living. So that's what you have to look at. Who is spending the most on helping you live right now?
On that same thing, step parents. Do they add their step parents? Do they not add their step parents? What do they do with that?
If they are living in a household with a step parent, on the application it does ask for stepmother or stepfather. So they do have to supply the step parent information.
Okay. My parents have not filed their taxes. What should I do? And we get that actually a lot. And so, and it's all different types of cases and stuff like that. So we do get that question. So what can a student do, and what does that process look like?
If the parents have not filed, now let me back up a little bit and let you know that students that will be starting school in 2021, they would have to complete their taxes for 19. That's the tax information that will need to be on the FAFSA. It's the 2019 taxes. So if your parents have not completed their taxes, they're going to have to complete their taxes. They have to have their tax completed and submitted in order to complete this FAFSA.
Okay. So kind of walk us real quickly, just all the when we go into the process and we log in, what's kind of that step that we need to do, kind of from start to finish, if you can do a little overview of that.
Okay. I would encourage the parents and the student, before you get ready to complete the application, get your FSA ID, the Federal Student Aid Identification number. You have to have that. That is your electronic signature. Now the parents have to have it, and the student. Now when I say parents, only one, mom or dad, but one of them have to have that number, and then the student have to have an FSA ID number. You can go online and get your FSID number now, and that way when you get ready to complete the FAFSA, you already have it. It's best to have it prior to you completing that FAFSA. And then at the end, it's going to ask for your signature, and that's when you put your FSA ID. That will be your signature. Please do not share your signature with anyone else. That is a federal fine, so you have to keep it under lock and key.
Yes,
okay?
Most definitely.
So once they sit down and get ready to complete this FAFSA, just have all the information together. That way you can get it done within that 15-20 minute time. Have your bank statement, savings account statement, and also you don't have to have your taxes if you want to use the data retrieval.
Okay.
The data retrieval is electronically through the IRS that can take the information and place it on the FAFSA for you from your tax information.
Okay.
So that way you won't have to have your tax form and figure out which line to put where. It will populate that information for you.
Okay. All right. And that was a good question. So How long does it usually take to find out the results? Once they fill in all the information, they sign it, they send it in, and you can kind of speak of this as being a director at Henderson State. So, do they hear back from the college? Do they hear back from FAFSA? Do they get an email? I do have some students that say they've been awarded financial aid, but yet to talk to their college. So what does that look like in that moment?
Once a student has completed the FAFSA, they will hear back from the FAFSA within 24 hours, just letting them know, hey, we have received your application. After that, for your financial aid being processed, it actually will take at least 3 to 4 days. I usually tell students, give it 5 days, and if you haven't heard anything, just reach back out to them. If you wait to the peak season where everybody's completing the FAFSA, it may take a little bit longer, but we do say between 3 to 5 days is a good time before they can hear back from them. They will get a SAR, what we call SAR is Student Aid Report. That is their letter from the FAFSA letting them know what they qualify for and how much they'll be receiving from each program.
Okay. You talked about peak season, so it opens October 1st. So what is that peak season where it will take longer to process it?
We see it where it's running, well, of course, October the 1st, a lot of them get anxious and nervous and want to go ahead and complete it. Also, during the Christmas break, when everyone is home, we do see like December, January is a higher traffic for the FAFSA.
Okay. We talked about our parents and taxes. One of the things that we also come up is, how is a student considered independent? If they have their own job, they pay their own taxes, maybe they don't live at home. What can classify a student as independent? Because I know that's a very lengthy process. So what could classify a student as an independent?
Get this question all the time.
I know. I've emailed you this question multiple times.
Yes, because students think because they're 18 and graduated from high school that they're grown. I hate to bust your bubble, students. You're actually not considered grown just yet. You're still under mom and dad's care. What the FAFSA look at is once a student turns 24, that's when they will be deemed as an independent student. Now, if they turn 24 or if the student has a child, if that student has a child, they have to prove that they are taking care of that child, at least 50% well-being of the child. If the student gets married, now I'm not saying go get married, not saying that, but if the students actually get married, then they will be classified as an independent student. And when I say independent student, that means the parents' information does not have to go on that FAFSA.
Okay.
So it will only be that student information. Now, if they are under guardianship, it has to be legal guardianship.
Yeah, not just like a letter from a lawyer. It has to go through the court system.
Has to go through the court system in order for them to qualify for that. If they are in the military, then they will be considered as independent, if they're a veteran.
And if they're in the foster care as well, I believe.
If they are in foster care, then they will be an independent student.
Okay. So that, you're right, that's a lot of, those 18-year-olds that think they're free and independent. And so that's one thing we want to make sure very clear and that they understand. And that it never hurts the college that you're wanting to attend. Like if you want to go to Henderson State, make sure you call the financial aid office and ask those questions, because a lot of times they don't. And so we want to make sure they ask those questions. So
correct.
And then we kind of talked about how to accept and decline the offer, and that is always through the FAFSA, correct?
They can accept like their loans, their student loans. They do not have to accept them, but they can accept them. If they don't want them, then they will decline them and just let us know that they did not want their student loans.
Okay. So here's our probably one of the more intense ones and you can see this that was on page 2 and 3. So on 4 and 5, one of the things that we want to talk is we have found that students are very confused about the federal aid programs that are available to them. And it maybe be the loans or the Pell Grants or all those things. And so it really does spell it out really well on pages 4 and 5. But I kind of wanted you to spend some time on what are the different federal programs that are offered. Like what is the free money? What is the difference between unsubsidized and subsidized? If we can spend some time on that, I think that would be beneficial for our viewers.
Anytime you hear grant, that's free money. Scholarship is free money. Loans is money you do have to pay back. It's just what it says, a loan. So you do have to pay that back, and you pay it back with interest. Now, you mentioned the Pell Grant. Yes, they do have the Pell Grant. That is under the federal. They also have the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. They have the Teach Grant. So those that I have named are actually grants, that money that's given to you to further your education, that you don't have to pay it back. But when you get into the loans, there are 3 different types of loans. You have the federal subsidized loan, the unsubsidized loan, and then the PLUS loan. Now the federal subsidized and the unsubsidized will be in the student's name. So the student is responsible for that, which the parents are happy about that. Now the difference between the subsidized and the unsubsidized. Subsidized, the government pays the interest while the student is in college. They have to be enrolled at least half-time. Unsubsidized, the student is responsible for that interest. They will receive a statement from their lender every 3 months, let them know how much interest that they owe on their student loan. Now, the student can pay it or not pay it. If they don't pay it, then it will be capped into their principal, and then interest start accruing all over again. So those are the programs that are under the federal government for the students.
My father still reminds me of the Parent Plus loan to this day. They're still paying it. So explain that one real quickly.
That Plus loan, the Parent Plus loan, is actually in the parent's name. So therefore, sorry parents, but you will be responsible of making the payments on this loan. You have no grace period. It goes immediately into repayment, and you're paying principal and interest while your student is in college.
Okay. You talked about a couple of those grants, the Pell Grant and then the explain that just a little bit, kind of the behind that one. And then I haven't heard of those other 2 ones, so if you can kind of share some light on those.
Okay. The Pell Grant is actually, there is a formula that they go by to determine if the student actually qualifies by the Pell Grant. Of course, they're going to look at income, any savings, 401ks, whatever the parents have. They're going to look at all that. I don't know the formula exactly. They don't share it with me because they know I'll spread it around and tell everybody this is how they figure it out. But they do have a formula they look at. The max amount you can receive on that Pell Grant as of this year, the new amount has not come out for the 21-22 school year. But right now, the max amount is $6,045. That's for the year. And that is split in half. You get half the first semester, remaining half the second semester. Now, the Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, that one is also a formula that they look at. They actually look at the EFC, Expected Family Contribution, to see if the student actually qualify. What the EFC is what the federal government expects the family to contribute toward that student's education. So if they have a high EFC, then most likely they won't get the FSEOG. If it's a low, it's a possibility that they will.
So on that, just a question that popped in my head, like a student that we talked about that has legal guardianship and they're considered independent, do they qualify for that grant? Or
most likely they will. I really can't say for sure, but most likely they will. If they are on the legal guardianship and only looking, and they are independent student, most likely they could qualify for that.
And the last one was the Teach
Grant. Teach Grant is for anyone that are seeking to become a teacher. I know you will like that since you're right here at high school. But if they, and they have to be want to teach in a shortage area. And this is actually for their junior and senior year in college. So if they want to teach in a shortage area, it will pay a certain amount to go toward their education while they're receiving their degree.
Okay. A couple questions that we get from this is, what is usually the grace period for paying back student loans?
Grace period is 6 months. Now, it starts when you graduate or drop out of school.
Okay.
Then those 6 months will start counting. And that 7th month is when they will go into repayment, and that 8th month, their first payment will be due.
We get this question from a lot of students that are starting school, or they're kind of confused and they don't know who to talk to because they're not calling this financial aid. So this question is so what loans do I choose? Like, do I do the ones the school suggests me on my financial aid page? Who do I talk to? And usually we send them back to you, but what is your best advice for them to really decide on how to choose a loan?
Always, before you decide on choosing a loan, just still remember you got to pay it back. That's very important to know. You have to pay it back. I know I did mention the 3 different type of loans. So yes, they can choose which loan, but they will qualify for the subsidized loan first. And if they still need funding, they can go to the PLUS loan. If the parents are denied the PLUS loan, then that's when a student can go and get the unsubsidized loan. Okay. Now they can qualify for subsidized and the unsub, and then still the PLUS. But again, you still have to pay all that back. If they still denied on the PLUS loan, then they can come back and get more on the unsubsidized loan.
So it's really important, so wherever they go to school, to make sure they're talking to their financial aid counselor
That's it.
and having that conversation, because they really know everything, hopefully, right?
Your best friend should be your financial aid advisor when you go to college. Every student needs to communicate with the financial aid office. So no matter what school you attend, make sure that you know someone that works in that financial aid office and talk to that one individual person.
All right, so before we move on, once again, this is on pages 4 and 5. If there's anything else that you want to say or explain on our financial aid, or for the federal aid programs?
I can't think of anything, but
Right.
if they have questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer those.
So now we're moving to the Arkansas free money.
Okay, the state.
And that's the state financial aid and everything that comes with that. So every year, and I'm going to read this, every year we have students that struggle with understanding or applying for the Arkansas Academic Challenge Scholarship. So explain what it is and how we apply for it.
I know many of you may not even know it as the Arkansas Academic Challenge. You may hear it as the lottery scholarship. So basically that's what it is. It's funds that are proceeds from the lottery that is earmarked for students to further their education, to get this scholarship. So I do encourage, if you're an Arkansas resident and you attend an Arkansas institution, that you go ahead and apply for this lottery money, which is the Arkansas Academic Challenge.
Okay, so there's the lottery part that's for the 4-year university and also for 2-year, but there's something that also comes with the lottery money, right? Is that the future grant? And that's something that you don't hear a lot about, but we here at Cabot, we really like to let all of our students know in all of our career technical areas of that grant, but I don't think a lot of people know about. So explain that one a little bit.
They do have another program, which is the Arkansas Future Program, if you want to attend a 2-year institution or if you're going to a 4-year institution. But if you want to seek your associate's degree, it's only for associate degree. So that's very important to understand, just the associate degree.
And certification.
And certification. Then you might want to look at looking at the Arkansas Future. One good thing though, right, let me share this with everyone. When you go to the website at ADHE, then you can actually apply, and you're actually applying for all the aid that they administer. So it's not like you have to know each one of them, but you will be applying for all that aid at that one location. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. And I know, so this has been kind of a struggle, I think, for the last couple of years, and I think you know what I'm going to talk about. So every year it opens up, and we get calls all the time about, it says I'm not a student at the high school. You know, because there's a first question when you go to apply for it, says, are you currently a senior in high school? And most of our students are hitting yes. And then it comes back that they're not, and they put their social security in, and it shows that they're not a student here. We know that is a, I don't know if that's a glitch or something that's going on, but it's still happening, even though I know we've had many conversations.
Okay.
So for most students, they need to hit no, correct?
Well, I don't want to say that because I think they're working on getting that corrected. It might be corrected by now. I didn't check it
As
today.
of today, it did not work.
Okay. So I know that they're working on that, but I just advise the students, if that happened to them, just go back and keep applying.
So always hit yes first and then go to no after?
You can.
Okay. Because we find it goes straight to the application and it loads in. And so I just want to ask you about it. We get that. Ms. Snyder will agree with us, and over here, we get that question all the time. Like October 1st, that's all we got. So we just wanted to address that. So what are some other additional state programs for students?
There are quite a few. We mentioned the Arkansas Future. Then we also have the Governor Distinguished and the Governor Scholar. The Governor Distinguished is the largest one. It pays $10,000 a year that students can qualify for. And I know that is in the booklet. They also have the Governor Scholar. So the Governor Scholar is, if there is not a Governor Distinguished in a county, a Governor Distinguished recipient in a county, then they can get apply and try to get the Governor Scholar for that county. They will select the next highest ranking student in that county for the Governor Scholar. Okay. So the Governor Scholar will be $5,000 a year.
Okay. Okay. What and that's, I believe that's a minimum of a 32 on the ACT and
that's correct.
3.5.
Yes, that is correct. For the Governor Distinguished.
For the Governor Distinguished. Okay, so on that one, can they stack scholarships? Is there anything about stacking super scores? how does that qualify for the scholarship?
For stacking, the state of Arkansas do have a stacking law where you cannot stack your scholarships to go over the cost of attendance. So that's very important to know. Also, you cannot receive the Governor Distinguished and the Academic Challenge at the same time. So you won't be getting the $10,000 and then the amount for the Governor, for the Academic Challenge.
Let's go back just a second. What do you need to have to qualify for the Arkansas Challenge?
In high school, they just look at your ACT score, which has to be at least a 19. And if you don't take the ACT, or if you're not meeting that 19 on that ACT, there are other alternate tests that you can take, and they have the equivalent test scores. It might be in the booklet. I think it is in the booklet, but I know it's on the website to let you know, like you can take the Next Generation AccuPlacer. So I encourage students, if you're not meeting that 19, then start looking at an alternate test. And look at the score that you would need to make on that alternate test and actually focus on that.
Okay, and we talked about the qualifications. Is there any super scoring?
Super scoring is on the academic challenge. So what super scoring is, if a student is not making a 19 on the one test, then they will look at all your test scores that you have taken from the 9th grade on up, and see if they can average that out to be a 19. If it average out to be a 19, then that's super score, and then you can qualify.
This is the first year I've noticed when I've helped some students that they've actually had a spot for super score scores. Like they have new slots for that. So I thought that was, so that's new for this year, super scoring?
Well, no, it actually started last year, but it's new to have the slots on the application.
All right, so what is the most common mistake you see when it comes to the Arkansas Challenge?
Back to parents putting their name on the application and not the student's name. So that it's important that you make sure that you're putting the student information when you're completing the application.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to Ms. Snyder real quickly because she said she has a question that is very prevalent to what we're talking about.
Okay. We've got a few. What if the parent the child does not live with claims the child on their taxes? How do they handle that on the FAFSA?
So the child is not living with the parent that is claiming them on the taxes?
Correct.
Actually, now for the FAFSA, they're not looking at who's claiming who on their taxes. It's basically who is spending at least 50% of the child's well-being.
Okay. And then we've got another question. I believe this is somebody else to answer this. Which year's taxes need to go on the FAFSA they fill out right now?
If a student is filling out the FAFSA for fall of 21, then they will do the 2019 taxes.
Okay. And we've got one more right now. When you apply for the lottery scholarship, it asks what college you will be attending. What if you change your mind in the college you will attend?
It's a good question. What you would do is log back into your account, and you can always change your college at any time, as long as it's before the deadline date.
Okay.
All right, so this is talking about the Arkansas Challenge. We were talking right before we went on today that a lot of students lose it, and it used to be a lot more. And so why do you think that is and what are some of the reasons that students will lose the free money? Because it's $15,000, $16,000 through your college career.
Yeah, it's very important for students to understand when they receive a scholarship, if it's a renewable scholarship, you need to know that renewal criteria. You need to know what it takes to get it for that next year. And what it takes to get the scholarship each year. That first year, your freshman year, you have to complete at least 27 hours at the end of the year with a 2.5 GPA. So that's when you find students are losing it. Now, after your freshman year, so from that point on, you have to complete 30 hours each year with a 2.5.
So it's 15 hours a semester.
15 hours a semester and a 2.5 GPA.
Okay. I just had this question on that. One thing that we do see is that many times students don't accept the Arkansas Challenge.
Oh,
and
yes.
There is a misconception that, well, they've just lost that money. That money's gone. Is that true? Or can they go back and get it? Or can they reapply for it? You know, kind of walk us through that.
Okay. Once you apply for the scholarship and when they start awarding, it's very important for students to read your emails, because they will receive an email letting them know that they have been accepted and awarded the scholarship. But the students have to accept it. And if you don't accept it, yes, you will lose it. You won't be able to use it for that year. So you will need to go ahead and accept that scholarship. Now, kind of explain it this way. There are two different categories in the lottery scholarship. They have the traditional and the non-traditional. Traditional is students that graduate from high school and go directly into college. Non-traditional is maybe you have college hours or you do not have college hours but you're over the age of 18. Then you will be classified as a non-traditional student. So if the traditional student loses their scholarship, they can go back and apply again and receive it as a non-traditional student.
So it never hurts that if you get your grades back up and you're doing well to reapply for it.
If you lose it, yes, as a traditional.
Okay. You know, I have a story. I have a young man that he did not ever accept it. And he's in his senior year now, and we had to go back in. He reapplied for it, and he was awarded money for his senior year. But once again, I think he lost out on over $10,000. So it's very important. Any students that are listening to their parents is make sure you use an email that doesn't close out, because our school email dies the day they walk across the stage.
Right.
So make sure you're using a different email, a private, personal email. But also make sure you're checking your emails and make sure you're accepting it, and go in and make a reminder to yourself, because we're leaving a lot of free money on the table.
That's right.
And every year, students that are not getting the GPA requirements, they're just leaving free money on the table. I mean, that's Ms. Snyder always says that's the price of a brand new car, and why wouldn't you not want to use it?
That's right.
And so that's very important that we stress that, is that this is free money that the state wants to invest in their future, and so we want to make sure we don't waste it.
Right.
And so and that's a really big important thing. So if there are students out there or parents out there that their students missed it and they don't think they can get it again, contact your financial aid department at that college, and there may be a really good possibility they can get it back in certain areas. All right, yes.
Okay.
What financial aid is available for AP students taking college courses their senior year?
They do have a program at Arkansas Department of Higher Education, Concurrent Challenge. So they will need to contact Arkansas Department of Higher Education to get more information on the Concurrent Challenge program.
And I know for our school that our concurrent classes are only with ASU-BB, and they are sending, once again, checking your email, they are sending emails, and so by the mid-semester they should know if the money in the pot is there. This is what they've told us, and that they will let the student know that they will get a refund for what they paid for the concurrent class. So all of our students, it's up to 2 classes. I know that it pays for 2 classes.
Okay, we've got one more question. I attended the meeting last year and was under the understanding that students could do an amendment on the taxes for the FAFSA and actually use the parents' taxes they reside with.
They could do an amendment
on the taxes for the FAFSA and use the parents' taxes that student resides with.
Well, I mean, if they reside with their parent, it's a parent that they're residing with, they can go ahead and just use that parent information on the FAFSA. But again, it also looks at the parent that is spending the most money on that child.
Okay. Well, as we come to the end, is there any other additional programs that are out there for free money?
Well, I mean, you got different scholarships, private scholarships. I do encourage students to reach out to different companies and see if they have a scholarship. You'll be amazed at the different scholarships that they have available. There are a lot of unique scholarships. So I tell students to think about anything that's unique about yourself, research and see if there's a scholarship. As everyone already know, there's a left-handed scholarship because that's very unique. There's a scholarship if you're so tall. If you're so short, like me, if I was standing up, y'all was like, "Ooh, she's short." And that's fine because I could get a scholarship and go back to school. Yeah. So that's why it's important for students to just take the time and look for what we call the free money.
So I know we tell our students don't ever pay for a scholarship shirt. So what would you suggest one of the better searches is? Is there a search engine? Is there a website that students can use?
In the booklet that you have, there is a list of websites you can go on and look for different scholarships. I do encourage you to actually go on, and if you go to any site and it's asking you to pay or subscribe to something and pay for that subscription, do not do it. Just do all the free scholarship searches, and that way you're not paying for someone to look for you a scholarship.
Is there any grad school or any post four-year University Arkansas grants or scholarships that our state offers?
Not from the state,
Okay.
but you could find something from the college maybe in that field,
Okay.
in that area. So again, they just have to research and look and see if they can find one.
We talked about scholarships, and as you now working at Henderson State, one thing that I see a lot of students that never really, the one part they don't ever click on is the institutional scholarships, not so much the privately funded scholarships, and kind of explain just what a privately funded scholarship is within maybe the School of Business, or if it's an endowment, because a lot of students don't even apply for those.
Right.
And so
some schools do have institutional scholarships, which mean you have to attend that particular institution to utilize that scholarship. I do encourage you to reach out to the admissions department at each institution and see what their scholarships are. Quite a few schools do have their institutional scholarship on their website, so you can go to the website and look at the scholarship. There are foundation scholarships that different foundations give to a particular school. That you can look and see if you qualify for any of the foundation scholarship.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Got one more question. Where do I get the student ID? I heard you said online, but what is the website?
You can go, it's in the booklet. It should be on page 1 in the booklet that you can go on. It's studentaid.gov. You can go on and get the FSA ID, or it's FSAID.gov.
Yes.
Either
So,
one.
yeah, you can go to studentaid.gov, and that will have
That'll take
sign
care of it.
And it will look like, and you can also, there's an app that you can also download to do it as well.
Sure.
All the information, I think the state has done, once again, a really good job of making it easy, concise. It has step processes for you in this booklet. And so, like I said, we have that in our comment section. We're going to have that up we're emailed it to our parents on the Counseling Corner email. So we're going to get you this as best as we can, because it is a really good guide. Do we have any more questions?
The last question is, will the students receive a handout with all of this information?
All right, once again,
There you go.
we have this on our link right here in our comment page, so you can download this to have a digital copy. The student can come into our office and grab one of these. We have plenty of these because we thought we were going to do it in person.
Right.
So I have plenty of these. These will also be out every Thursday. We have a next step, kind of like a what is your next step tent in the lunch every Thursday for the rest of this month, and that's student led, and they've done research. They also have these books, so we're really making sure it gets out there. So before we go on, and I'm not sure what our time is.
It's 6:38.
Oh, we're doing good. So we'll leave it. But I have a couple more things. If there's anything through your 20 plus years in the financial aid, what is some advice and what is some good rules or something that if you have to talk to our students and their parents right now, what is some things you would want to say to them?
I heard him slip that in, 20 plus years. He's trying to tell my age, but that's okay, Ryan. But it is working in the financial aid. I've seen a lot of students wait to the last minute to try to find scholarships and grants. Please do not wait. One thing that I encourage students to do, your senior year is just piled with a lot of things that you have to do. So you need to prioritize. Make yourself a calendar, make a to-do list, and try to keep up with that to-do list and coincide it with your calendar, so you'll know what you need to have done and when, and have that completed. Share that information with your parents so they can help you with your to-do list. It's very important to start looking for scholarship early. If you're not looking for scholarships now, you're behind. So you need to play that catch up and start looking for scholarships. I've seen a lot of private scholarships. Deadline dates are like in December, January. So that's why you want to start looking for those scholarships early. So create yourself a calendar. Also create a to-do list on things that you have to have completed. A lot of athletes, they just want to go on the athletic scholarship. And they think that they can just sit back and wait for everybody to come to them. No, you need to read the NCAA rules so you'll know when you need to do different things to stay in compliance with that NCAA rules. So it's always important to research whatever you want to do.
All right, if you had some last word of advice or anything about education, about going to college, about paying for it, what would you want to say to our students here at Cabot High School?
Think about what you want to major in. So when you go to college, you won't be just taking classes and spending money on these classes. Actually start taking classes that's going to be going towards your degree. I know that at the beginning of the year you may not know, and that's fine. But later on, when you become a junior in college, you need to know what you're majoring in and start taking those classes. If you're unsure what you want to major in, you need to start sitting down, thinking about that. Think about what you like to do, and put your habits into a degree. So for example, if you want to be a nurse, but you don't like blood, then you can't be a nurse, because you have to deal with needles and blood. So I think it's important for you to actually sit down and think about what you want to do in your life, and what you like to do, and kind of put that into a degree form.
I will say that what I've noticed in the last couple of years, and I think Ms. Snyder would agree, is that we are having a lot of students that are being a lot more conscious about their spending and how to pay for college and everything. And I think sometimes it can cause them either to be too stressed or they're very organized.
Sure.
And so I think you might agree, is just take a deep breath, ask questions, don't ever be afraid to talk to your counselor, the financial aid. I don't think I ever talked to my financial aid department in school. I probably should have. But I think it's very important that it's to ask questions and research.
Research.
One thing that we really want to stress from our center is research, research, research. You know, don't come and ask me how much the scholarship money, just because I've looked at enough ones. Go to those websites, be familiar with those websites.
Right.
Each website's different and can confusing in different ways. And so we're real big about research. Before we finish up, do we have any more questions from our online community?
We don't, but I do want to say, check your email, students, because we're sending out 0-hour information. We've got a session tomorrow morning that we're going to be doing. We encourage you to come and see us. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know, and we'll try to help you any way possible with any of this information.
Yep, so we just kind of to promote what the Student Success Center, we are absolutely going to try to provide so many different avenues. And so we're going to do a FAFSA, mini FAFSAs during 0 hour. And I know that with Ms. Gatewood and the Next Step programs, that she's going to do a lot of different things to get students to sign up and to sign up for the FAFSA. And we're going to provide all these opportunities, like every Thursday. Once again, we have students that are leading, student-led. What is your next steps? You know, what do I need to do next? For parents, I know we're going to post this on our website. We're going to keep this up and going. We're going to send this, this presentation out. Also, we're starting the Counseling Corner podcast. And our first episode we're working on, we're going to release in the next couple of weeks, is about the FAFSA. It's literally we all the time, what is the FAFSA or whatever? I don't know. I just need to pay for college. And so we're going to we're going to have a top 10 list, and we're going to immerse you with this information so you can have the knowledge and the ability to apply for college. So we're going to have that. We're going to release that soon. And so we have so many different avenues for parents and for students. So we just want you to ask. And I don't want you to be like this one. We had this one young lady my first year here. She 100% had all her ducks in a row. Knew exactly where she was going, knew the school, knew her scholarships she was getting. She had a high GPA. She was one of our high-ranking students. And never asked the counselor to double check on something. Listen to a friend that said, hey, oh yeah, you just need to fill out this application at this university and that will cover all the scholarships. But this young lady was banking on a really big scholarship that she had to fill out a separate scholarship. Well, she never asked the counselor, never double checked, because she thought she had everything. And she even says this, I thought I knew everything. Well, 2 weeks before graduation, that student found out they were losing $40,000. They could apply for it for the next year, but that was a huge loan. So that is really big, is make sure you double check, always ask questions. We are here to help, and always just don't be afraid to ask. So any last words?
Yeah, and if you find a scholarship and it's asking for you to write an essay, please don't run from that essay. Go ahead and write that essay. Usually I tell students it's not hard to write an essay. Just sit down and think about the topic and just focus on that topic and write your essay. Sometimes you can just sit down and just write things about yourself, what you would like to be, what you want to major in, where you want to attend college, and just keep that, save that in a folder, and that way when you get ready to write an essay, you can pull that out and kind of add to it. So you can go by the topic for that essay. So do not be scared of an essay. If there's a company that say, we'll give you $5,000, you write us a 500-word essay, why wouldn't you write that for $5,000?
Yeah.
Also, when you're writing that essay, please get someone to proof your essay.
Not me. Not me.
Not
Ms. Snyder will tell you, you don't need me to go. Yes.
Okay, here's one more question. My child just informed me that she filled out the FAFSA yesterday and has already gotten some news back. Would that be correct? That they would have already received information back about the FAFSA?
It depends on what that information is, because you can hear back within 24 hours, just them letting you know that they have received your application and encouraging you to continue to watch your email. This is maybe a little downtime for them because a lot of students still don't know that it's actually is October the 1st was the opening date. So it's important for them to go ahead and just read whatever they sent them, and they may send their SAR student aid report later in a couple of days.
So deadline for FAFSA, is there a deadline to fill out your FAFSA for?
Schools have priority deadlines, so you will need to check with that institution you want to attend.
Arkansas Challenge, is there a deadline for that?
There is a deadline of July 1st for the Arkansas Challenge.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Once again, we are so thankful to have Lisa Smith, the free money lady. We thank you for all your information. Thank you for all the parents and students that posted comments on our page. Like I said, you'll be able to find it. We'll be able to release it and put it on multiple avenues. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan Davenport, and for Ms. Snyder, we are so thankful that you've came. And please come talk to us, and we'll help you do anything that you need. Have a good Panther Day.